Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this video, we're going to be talking about my thoughts on what some of the upcoming trends may be as far as lures that are going to do well in 2025 and beyond. Obviously a lot of this revolves around, technology and how the already available lures out there on the market can fit into, forward-facing sonar and all these advancing technologies. However you feel about technology, these baits are really, to me, baits that should fit in well with that technology. And as we learn more about forward-facing sonar and how to use it, things are going to change. Guys are going to start to learn how to use different baits than just the minnow and jig head combo or a jerk bait or things like that, even though we will be talking about some of that too. But before we get into the baits that I want to talk about today, I wanted to do something a little bit different because in my recent videos, obviously, I've been promoting the fundraiser that we have for St. Jude. Obviously, this is a organization that is near and dear to my heart and my family because my daughter was diagnosed almost a year from now, a year ago, less than a year. So we're at right around 11 months ago. My daughter Riley was diagnosed with neuroblastoma cancer, and obviously the top organization, the top hospital that everybody was trying to get us to go to was St. Jude, and we are so thankful to them. And so we have a fundraiser that we're doing. The link is in every single description of every single video. Okay, it's the first thing when you open that description, you'll see the fundraiser link. And that link is essentially, it goes 100% to St. Jude, but it's actually a fundraiser for the Dick Hiley Bass Classic up in Minnesota on the Mississippi River that is a St. Jude benefit tournament, the largest sanctioned big St. Jude benefit tournament in the country, in the world too, I would assume. But anyways, what I wanted to do today before we get started with the topic is I want to say thank you specifically to those who have donated to the fundraiser and obviously aren't anonymous. So the very first, I'm going to start from the most recent and go back, and I want to make this a regular thing. I want to just show gratitude to you guys who donate, no matter how much you donate. All right, so I want to give a big thank you to Greg Wood, first and foremost. He was the most recent person who donated. Eric Bostrom, who's one of my uncles. Thank you, Eric. Kevin Drake, I think that's who this was supposed to be. Kevin Drake, but I think the name was a little bit misspelled, last name. But thank you for your donation. Laura Westfall, my sister-in-law, thank you so much for donating to this. Tracy Merling, I worked with Tracy years ago at a restaurant, and so thank you, Tracy. Gretchen Simon with St. Jude, she donated. We're actually, figuring out if the link worked or not, but thank you to Gretchen for everything that you do, not just this donation. And then the first person to donate, I definitely want to highlight this person, Timothy Fallon. He donated $500, and I just wanted to say thank you so much, Timothy, and thank you to everyone that donated. Again, if you guys are looking to donate to a wonderful cause, there's no better cause than St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So I just wanted to show a little bit of gratitude to those people before we got started today. But let's go ahead and get started on the bulk of this topic. And I do want to mention, if you guys are interested in purchasing any of the product that I talk about in this video, definitely use the links below. I'm actually going to not only put the links for the exact products that I'm talking about, or some of the products that I use within these categories, but I'm also going to outline the tackle that I'm going to be using with each of these. Either am going to be using or already do use. And so you can find all that. It's just just kind of a breakdown of all the tackle that I use with what we're talking about. So anyways, let's get started. So one of the very first things that I think is going to be a really, really big deal in 2025, especially when it relates to forward-facing sonar. And, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are just so sick of hearing about forward-facing sonar. But when I look at trends, you have to look at, what is dominating out there, which is forward-facing sonar, whether you're using, Lowrance Active Target, you're using the new, forward-facing from Humminbird or even from Garmin, that is the deal, especially when you're tournament fishing, that is kind of the deal. So pretty much all the trends as far as lures that you're going to use and techniques are going to kind of come off of that. So if you don't want to talk about forward-facing sonar, this may not be the video for you, but you're kind of forced to look at these techniques in terms of, how they're going to relate to forward-facing sonar. So the first one that I want to talk about is really, this is the exact bait that I want to talk about, but it's kind of a category bait. So I think that swim baits, like something in the 6 to 8-inch range, are going to be a big deal. So something like this, like line through swim baits, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing with, forward-facing sonar is fishing things like brush piles or offshore structure and things like that. That's one of the best applications for that technology. And for the most part, people have been capitalizing on using the technology and using, jig head minnows, strolling techniques, Ned Mickey, Demiki, whatever you want to call that technique, the jig head minnow. And that has worked great. It's going to continue working great in 2025. We're going to talk a little bit about it here. But I do think that you're starting to see a lot of guys throw baits like this. This right here is a Z-Man Shadtron LT. It's a line through swim bait that you can use the line through top hook, or you can use it with a treble hook on the belly. Now, the reason why I pick the Shadtron LT out of all the different, swim baits on the market is because I really like how you can adjust the speed with this bait. This bait has a wedge tail design, which is a little bit different than most swim baits. Obviously, wedge tail has been around for a long time. When I was living in California back in high school, Huddleston swim baits, those were big time, and those had a very similar wedge tail design. So it's a proven design. It's nothing new. But what I really like about the Shadtron LT and previously the Mulletron LT is the fact that it doesn't matter what speed you need to reel this bait. You can burn it or you can slow roll it, and it's not going to roll on its side. Now, admittedly, I haven't had as much experience with the Shadtron LT yet because, but it's pretty much the same exact design, just a little bit taller to make that shad profile. The reason why I think that this bait and baits similar to this are going to do really well in 2025 is because when you're using forward-facing sonar, one of the biggest things that you get with that technology is the fact that you get to see the fish react to your bait, and you can adjust your presentation accordingly. Now, with a lot of swim baits, boot style swim baits and bigger line through swim baits and things like that, you pretty much have one speed or one narrow set of speed that you can reel that bait without it start rolling and doing some weird stuff and just not looking natural. This bait, you can actually, if you notice the fish comes up behind it and a slower retrieve is not, getting that fish to commit, you can speed it up. You can do a lot with this as far as speed of your retrieve to get that fish to bite, which is something that's very unique with, these bigger, swim baits that you see on the market. So I like the Shadtron LT, but I think overall people are going to be using more swim baits like this. Another thing that I like about the Shadtron is the fact that, and this is not unique to, you know, the swim bait category. There's a lot of swim baits that have a top hook, but I do like the fact that you can choose between a bottom hook, which is very unique, and the top hook, you know, and it being aligned through swim bait. But a thing I like about the Shadtron LT, especially the way it comes out of the package with just the top hook, is that this bait it runs through cover a lot better. So I can actually throw this in a brush pile, over a brush pile, weave it through that brush, and it's not nearly as snaggy as a bait with a treble hook. A bait with a treble hook, you can't get it anywhere near that brush pile without it snagging on something. But that top hook, you can throw it around brush, lay downs, all kinds of stuff. And because that hook is on the top, you're just not snagging as much. So that's another reason why I like it for this upcoming season. It's a reason why I'm going to be throwing it quite a bit. I'm going to be experimenting with the Shadtron LT with like brush piles and things like that. And it comes in 2 different sink rates, which I think the faster sink rate is probably going to be the deal for the forward-facing sonar techniques or applications that I'm going to be using it for. So anyways, I think swim baits are going to continue to become more and more of a player with forward-facing sonar. And kind of branching off into a different category, but it's very close to the swim bait category. I also think that glide baits are going to be a big deal in 2025. Obviously, already a big deal in 2024. Lots of people, the pioneers of forward-facing sonar, especially in tournament situations, have really learned how to use glide baits to their advantage. I'm actually kind of a observer of this. I have not applied it hardly at all yet, but this is something that is on my list of goals for 2025 and what to learn, because I see a lot of, I just watched a video this morning on YouTube that, you know, an angler, gosh, I wish I knew the channel. I should find that channel so I can mention it here, but I watched an angler fish a glide bait like this and absolutely just, you know, crushed it. Got a bunch of fish. You know, it was a 6-inch swim bait or a glide bait, so it's not really a giant bait, you know, that you can't get smaller bites to. And the thing about a glide bait that I really like is it's very similar to a jerk bait. One of the reasons why a jerk bait was like one of the first techniques that people used with forward-facing sonar is because, you know, you can adjust the movement of this bait. It's very, very adaptable to the mood of the fish. You know, you cast it out there, you work it above the fish, and you can move it faster, or you can pause it. You can actually turn a glide bait around to look at the fish. There's so many different things that you can do to the action of a glide bait to get that fish to strike. And that's, again, one of the unique things about forward-facing sonar is that without actually visually seeing the fish, you can see the fish on your screen and you can react to it, and you can get to learn their mood, their body language, and adjust your techniques. So any techniques that really allow you to just adjust on the fly, whether it's speed or the action or pause it or any of that, those are all going to be really, really good techniques. And a glide bait is definitely one of them. For me, I don't think it's necessarily going to be something where I'm going to be throwing big glide baits. I don't even have really big glide baits, but this one right here is the Storm Arashi glide. I really like this one. Another one that I like is this one, the Molix glide bait. Those are some of my favorites, but I'm not the guy to ask about, you know, glide baits. You know, I'm not an expert on glide baits, but I really do see a huge application for these baits, and I'm definitely going to learn it this year, honestly, because I'm seeing so much potential, you know, utilizing this category of bait with forward-facing sonar. So glide baits are another one. Another category of bait that is a bait that has been around for a very long time, or a category of baits that has been around for a long time, that I thought was going to be dead because of the domination of forward-facing sonar. But I'm starting to see guys utilize this category of bait, and I think I see a lot of really big potential for it because the success of jerkbait fishing was so big. So why not fishing a deep diving crankbait? Deep diving crankbait is very similar to a jerkbait. You can fish it very similar. Obviously, some are a little bit more buoyant. You may want to use like some suspend dots or weights to kind of create a more buoyant, neutrally buoyant bait. So there's a lot of like tweaking to do with a deep diving crankbait. But in general, you can fish this bait way deeper than you can a jerkbait, but fish it very similar with, start, stop, retrieves. I've used it with forward-facing sonar, just ripping through schools of fish. So like if you have a big school of fish, just cranking it through that school on a straight retrieve, like super fast, that's a great way to catch some fish sometimes. But I'm seeing other guys really fish a deep diving crankbait like this Strike King Series 5, just like a jerkbait. All right, and this is not the only crankbait that I would use. There's a bunch of different ones on the market. I use the XD series, the 6XD and 5XD. I'd even use the 10, really use those big ones and experiment with them. But in general, and it doesn't even have to be Strike King, obviously. These are just the crankbaits that I have a lot of confidence in, but there's a lot of different crankbaits on the market. So I'm really, and you know what? Some of the ones that I really like the looks of are these new Berkeley dimes. These dimes look awesome. They've got great finishes to them. I think they're balanced well, and I think they work really, really good in this sort of application, on forward-facing sonar. So I think experimenting with deep diving crankbaits is going to be a big deal. I think you're going to start to see way more guys out there fishing these classic deep diving plugs using that new technology. So just another thought. And then finally, the last one that I think is going to be a big deal is, of course, your good old minnow and jig head. Now, this one's a little bit different. This is the new graph shads from Z-Man. This, to me, looks more realistic. It has, that line through design. So, but this is just one of many in this category, that jig head minnow technique, hover strolling, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different names. In fact, I don't even know what the real name is, but I would say Demiki was kind of the original, mid-strolling, whatever. But this is still going to play a huge role in 2025. I think that this is probably going to be number one all throughout the year for most of the scopers. I'm not big on this technique. I'll be honest. I'm not good at it yet. I shouldn't say I'm not big on it. I'm just not good at it yet. So you're not going to see me doing this in most of the tournaments until I start getting that technique dialed in. This one right here, I think, is an awesome new offering from Z-Man. I think that it's going to start getting a lot of press this year. But your traditional, jerk baits, like the scented jerk shads and some type of jig head, a lot of different jig heads on the market right now. That's going to be continue to be a huge player in 2025. And again, it relates to how you can adjust the action and the presentation based on the fish's mood that you're seeing on your screen. That's why the jig head minnow is so popular, and all bass eat minnows or shad or bait fish in general. So that's why that profile is so successful. But that is going to continue to do well. Guys are going to continue to experiment. Newer baits like the graph shads, and you see some of those other soft plastic, jerk baits that are tailor-made for, hover strolling or mid strolling or whatever you call this thing. They're going to continue to advance that technique. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts on some of the trends that I think are going to start getting big this next year. I'm sure that I left a few out. I'm sure that there's going to be some that just kind of sneak in there that I never would have expected. But overall, these are some good ones. So again, if you're interested in any of the products I talked about today, I've got links in the description below, along with the tackle that I would use with these techniques. And so check that out in the description. But other than that, click on that St. Jude fundraising link, and thank you to everybody that has donated so far. All right, guys, I'm going to see you out on the water. Make sure you trust the process.